National Assembly begs governors to pass constitution review bills. Schools, markets, banks shut down as gunmen invade Ebonyi State. Plus, Iran publicly hands man from crane amidst protests. Welcome to News Live on Viewer Television. I am Dorcas Bello. Now let's begin the news tonight. The leadership of the National Assembly has begged governors of the 36 states to save the ongoing constitution review exercise by passing the amendment bills before them. Senate President Ahmed Lawal made the call at the second Distinguished Parliamentarian Lecture Series 2022 organized by the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic States in Abuja. The lecture titled Delivering on Our Contract with Nigerians, Implementing the Legislative Agenda of the 9th House of Representatives, Progress, Challenges and Way Forward was delivered by Speaker Femi Bajabiamila. Bajabiamila lamented that the constitution review exercise had been stalled due to the refusal of the State House of Assembly to pass the bills. Lawal appeals to Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, who was the chairman of the event, to help the National Assembly to beg his governor colleagues to facilitate the passage of the bills now before their houses of assembly. The federal government has denied that the military is running a secret abortion service involving female officers and men. The Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, made the rebuttal at the news conference in Abuja in response to a report by a foreign news agency report that no fewer than 10,000 military operatives were subjected to forced abortion by the military in Nigeria. Mohammed, who described the report as concordant, wondered how the news agency arrived at the figure after reportedly speaking with 33 persons and relying on unidentified sources only as the basis for the story. The story also claimed that 10,000 such abortions have been carried out from 2013 to date on women and girls. Female mining professionals have called for proper development and management of the country's solid mineral sector to bring about a total turnaround of the Nigerian economy. The women in mining in Nigeria, with good development and management practices, they say the sector can lead to social development and employment opportunities for many people. They added that increased women participation in the sector would also add value. The professionals advised the federal government that such could be achieved by adopting responsible mining policies hinged on the practice of principles of good governance, sustainability, equity and fairness. The female miners said Nigeria should close the gender gap and grow its wealth to guarantee better livelihoods for its population. And 3 gunmen were killed earlier on Monday when police repelled an assault on an election office in Nigeria's southeast. Police said in the latest violence in the restive region. Now, the attack on the main office of the Independent National Electoral Commission in Owerri, capital of Imo State, followed similar assaults less than 3 months to next year's presidential votes. Now, Nigerians will go to the ballot box in February to elect a successor to President Muhammadu Buhari, a former army commander who is stepping down after 2 terms in office. Recent attacks on INEC offices, particularly in the southeast where separatist groups are active, and violence by armed criminal gangs are raising concerns over electoral violence. The electoral body has recently warned of the threats of intensifying campaign violence ahead of the election, saying it had tracked at least 50 attacks in the last 2 months. The Independent National Electoral Commission says none of the critical electoral materials were destroyed in the attack on its state headquarters office in Owerri, the Imo State capital. The commission, in a statement by its National Commissioner and Chairman of the Information and Voter Card Education Committee Chairman, Festus Okoye, also confirms that there were no casualties involving staff of the commission in the incident, which he said occurred at about 3 a.m. on Monday. However, the statement says the attack affected the part of the building occupied by the Election and Party Monitoring Department, and one official utility vehicle was burnt. INEC confirms that this is the third attack on the Commission's facility in Imo State in less than 2 weeks following the earlier attacks on the Olu Local Government Area Office on Thursday, 1st December 2022, and Oru West Local Government Area Office on Sunday, 4th December 2022. The Commission described the incident as yet another systemic attack targeted at its assets across the country. Now, there is heightened fears among residents of Abakaliki, the Ebonyi State capital, as gunmen enforcing the sit-at-home order invaded the town on Monday. Newsmen gathered that the gunmen who stationed themselves at different locations in the city commenced shooting at about 8:50 a.m. A resident source told our correspondent that the gunmen began operations simultaneously at Mechanic Village, G Hostel area, and the New Market area along Abakaliki and Ugu Road. He says the shooting has caused markets, banks, and schools to close as people scamper for safety. Now recall that a breakaway faction of the outlawed indigenous people of Biafra, also known as IPOP, led by former head of Radio Biafra Simon Ekpa, had declared December 9th to December 14th, 2022 sit-at-home in Southeast states to sensitize the natives not to participate in the 2023 elections. Now let's head to the northeast, where the Adamawa State University MUBI will be holding the 14th convocation ceremony of the institution on Tuesday, where a total of 2,594 graduating students will be conferred academic qualifications ranging from diplomas, degrees, and postgraduate degrees. ATSU Vice Chancellor and Deputy Governor designated to the Adamawa State Governor Amadu Fintiri, Professor Keleta Farota, at a press conference organized ahead of the activities marking the convocation ceremony, said the institution will be graduating a total number of 2,594 graduates at all levels of academic qualifications and degrees. She also said Professor Elias Wogoro, that's the former Executive Secretary of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TETFON, would be conferred with the Honorary Doctor of Science in recognition of his sterling contributions of the development of tertiary education in Nigeria. She also stated that the 5 students who graduated as overall best graduating students bagging first class from her last year's convocation ceremony were granted automatic employment on the orders of the Adamawa State Governor Ahmadu Fintiri and are now in the employment payroll of the institution and also attending further studies on scholarship.
And 94 graduates at all levels of academic qualifications and degrees. For the first degrees, we have 23 in first class honors category. In the second class honors upper division, we have a total of 635, while the second class honors lower division has a total of 1,448 graduates. 200 fall under the third class honors category and 18 would graduate with a pass. This brings the total number of our first degree graduates to 2,408. For the postgraduate degrees, where we have postgraduate diploma, professional, masters with research thesis, Master of Philosophy and Doctor of Philosophy respectively. This prestigious university will graduate 186 graduates across our faculties.
You're still watching News Live. When News Live returns, the All Progressive Congress youth in Bauchi State expressed dismay to the former Governor Mohammed Abubakar for what it describes as his new relationship with the incumbent Governor Bala Mohammed. Now, details of this and many more comes to you right after this break. Do stay with us.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm at the Envoy Hotel, Diplomatic Drive 305, here for a business weekend. It's been an amazing stay. Conference hall and business facilities here are stylish and innovative. The Envoy Hotel is luxury, esoteric, opulent, for ultimate comfort.
Discerning travelers, we are more than just a place to stay. We are an icon of comfort, style, and thoughtful luxury. We are Envoy Hotel.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is News Live. Now, let's take a recap of our top stories. National Assembly begs governors to pass constitutional review bills. Schools, markets, banks shut down as gunmen invade Ebonyi State. Plus, Iran publicly hangs man from crane amidst protests. Now, the Borno State Independent National Electoral Commission says IDPs in resettled super camps in 15 local government areas will not be excluded in voting during the 2023 elections. The commission at a press briefing disclosed that over 128,000 PVCs are yet to be collected by registered voters. It also reveals that voter registration has risen from 2.3 million to 2.5 million. The state residents INEC Commissioner Mohammed Ibrahim says it has made additional 138 polling units to decongest overpopulated polling units across the state, and more than 17,000 security personnel will provide security at polling units. He added that its offices are open next week for collection of PVCs by owners.
You may wish to note that Borno has been home of IDP voting over the years, occasioned by insurgency. In 2019, apart from Abadan and Kukawa, all local governments who have insecurity issues voted in their respective LGAs headquarters. MMC, Jere, Biu, Haul, Bayo, Shani, and Koyakusar did normal voting up to polling units level. Askirauba has its majority RS who voted up to the polling unit level. All the rest of the LGAs voted in super camps, in designated places, as well as at the local government headquarters. The Commission's drive for inclusivity or inclusive voting include the IDPs and people living with disabilities. Election materials and personnel will be deployed to all nook and crannies of the state. No part of the state will be disenfranchised during the forthcoming general election.
Now, wife of the People's Democratic Party presidential candidate Princess Rukaya Atiku has appealed to the Nigerian women to desist from selling their votes for a token amount of money to some politicians during the forthcoming 2023 general elections, which, according to her, will only subject them to more hardship. Princess Rukaya Atiku made the plea in Bauchi during the Northeast Town Hall meeting, where she also solicits for the support of the women to vote for her husband come 2023 general election. Now, Awal Hassan from Bauchi tells us more.
Mammoth crowd of women from Adamawa, Bauchi, Gombe, Taraba and Yobe states of the northeastern part of Nigeria gathered at the multipurpose indoor sport halls in the city heart of Bauchi to welcome wife of the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Princess Rukaya Atiku Abubakar. Princess Rukaya was in Bauchi State for a town hall meeting with women, where she advocates for their support to her husband in the forthcoming general election. She, however, cautions the women against selling their votes to some politicians during the election, which, according to her, is tantamount to selling their rights after the election.
I'm appealing to all Nigerian women to come out and vote for my husband, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, in the forthcoming election, and also to vote for Governor Bala Mohammed and all the governors contesting under the platform of PDP, and all the senators.
Wife of the Bauchi State Governor, Aisha Bala, however, says the aim of the town hall meeting was to sensitize women as they contribute the highest percentage of vote during election.
The purpose of our gathering today is to know our strengths. We as a woman, as a mothers, as a sisters, as a wife of our husbands. Most of the time of election, it is women that comes out to elect, to do the voting. And after voting, most of the time, the elected people, they just forget about women. And that is why we try our best to call them and to give them sensitization for them to know.
She also re-emphasizes the commitment of her husband's administration, providing more opportunities to the women, as is witnessed in his cabinet.
I know most of our women, they are part of the witness. The Kaura, he has taken a lot of women in his cabinet, and he is going to do it more.
Dr. Aisha Bala, however, reiterates the significance of vote protection and also urges the women to vote wisely, especially for the People's Democratic Party, PDP. Awal Hassan, Viewer TV News, Bauchi.
Now, the All Progressive Congress youth in Bauchi State expressed dismay to the former governor Mohammed Abubakar for what he describes as his new relationship with the incumbent governor Bala Mohammed, who is seeking for re-election as a governor. The group, known as Air Marshal Youth Vanguard, while addressing journalists on Sunday at the NUJ Secretariat in Bauchi, accused former Governor Abubakar of engaging in anti-party activities by honoring his successor's invitation to a dinner organized for him in honor of his attainment of Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Our Bauchi State correspondent again, Awal Hassan, tells us more.
The All Progressive Congress Youth Group, known as Air Marshal Vanguard, expressed their grievances over the attitude of the former governor Muhammad Abubakar towards establishing a relationship with the present administration of the opposition.
It is with deep sense of responsibility that the members of the Youth Vanguard found it expedient at this time to report these glaring tactics of the former governor of Bauchi State and his family, showing a clear case of anti-party against the APC and its candidates from the top to the bottom, which ordinarily ought not to have accorded the privilege of being noticed by any party member, as they are no longer of relevance in either the state where he held due to his abysmal performance. We resolve to issue this press release to warn him to quickly step down as a member of the APC Presidential Council.
Recall that Governor Bala Muhammad has on Thursday night held a special dinner for his predecessor on his attainment of Senior Advocate of Nigeria, son. However, the group says as a member of the Presidential Campaign Council of the All Progressive Congress, he was not supposed to have honored the invitation.
For the avoidance of doubt, the former governor had accepted the invitation of the Bauchi state government to be hosted to a state dinner in the honor of his elevation to a Senior Advocate of Nigerian, son. He graced the occasion and he went on to spare a speech eulogizing the PDP-controlled Bauchi state government and even called for its re-election. We were disappointed with his action then. What a double standard. This is a clear case of anti-party which must not be condoned by any well-meaning member of the APC, especially the Presidential Campaign Council, where he remains a member, and allowing him to remain as a member can spell doom for our great party.
The group therefore called on the former governor to step down as a member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, as his loyalty to the party is questioned. Awal Hassan, Viewer TV News, Bauchi.
Now, the need for various stakeholders to join hands in breaking the silence on issues around gender-based violence has been advocated as measures in reducing the increased rates in gender-based violence cases in Nigeria. Participants made the call in a two-day symposium organized by the USAID State Accountability, Transparency and Effectiveness State-to-State Activity commiserating the 16 days of activism in Bauchi. Now the reports.
We are always cheated through this gender-based violence. We are being molested, we are being raped because some of us we are worried, we are scared of saying it out.
Echoes of many survivors of sexual and gender-based violence.
So we are not able to break the silence. So by us breaking the silence, we will get the solution to all this gender-based violence.
Women can't be silent all around the world. People hunger, hungry, children cry. We sing out now for justice and development. I hold the right of all the people high.
Echoes of many survivors of sexual and gender-based violence. Track up. However, of interest is that gender-based violence transcends sexual abuses. Experts say there are many dimensions, including abusive words or statements against a person, especially those that impact on the girl child negatively.
These abusive words are a form of gender-based violence because it comes from the teacher. Apart from the mothers, the second person is the teacher. So when a child is being abusive every day in the class from the teacher, like telling him some abusive words, in Hausa we call it zagi, so it affects them and makes them to withdraw.
The fight against GBV is quickly spreading across Bauchi. However, stakeholders call for coordination using a multi-sectoral approach.
We need to have a multi-sectoral collaboration to ensure that we reduce or end gender-based violence. And of course, it is our responsibility across all fields of endeavor, across different projects, including the government and its various ministries, departments and agencies, to all come together and work together towards synergy to ensure that we empower all people, especially women, younger people, and also those living with disabilities.
It is a collaborative traditional institution, religious people, and government MDS and CSOs. You see, all it is a collaborative.
We want to really make it part of our agenda. If they have any issue regarding GBV within the school, they will contact us, and we will also contact the government partners. And if we have any issue within the health sector, we'll contact the health project, then they will link us with the government partners.
With this commitment by the various stakeholders, it is hoped that cases of gender-based violence will come to the barest minimum by 2030. Awal Hassan, Viewer TV News, Bauchi.
Now, Bauchi State Ministry of Women Affairs and Child Development have commended the UN Women for the virus intervention, especially its program on women's peace and security in Nigeria. The declaration was made by the Commissioner of the Ministry during a one-day town hall meeting with traditional and religious leaders in Bauchi, while marking the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. Awal Hassan again completes this report.
The UN Women, a program on women, peace and security in Nigeria, is among other objectives aimed at promoting women's engagement in conflict prevention, conflict resolution, negotiation, mediation and peace-building process at all levels for the attainment of sustainable peace and development. Bauchi State is one of the beneficiaries of the various interventions of UN Women, as put forward by the Commissioner of Women Affairs during a one-day town hall meeting with traditional and religious leaders to mark the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence.
The Ministry of Women Affairs acknowledged the support of UN Women through its intervention in Bauchi State. UN Women and International Alert played a significant role in acquainting focus communities and provided a concrete roadmap on women's engagement in peace building, highlighting critical roles they play in the society, which at the long run touches their lives and impacted positively.
This one-day town hall meeting brought together traditional and religious leaders, as well as other relevant stakeholders seeking to achieve the same objective.
To popularize SAP and seek support from traditional and religious leaders in mainstreaming UNSCR 1325 at the local level. To sensitize stakeholders on the 16 days of activism, gender-based violence campaign, and to share information of SGBV. To increase visibility of WPS program and network, the He for She Global Campaign Movement, Women Mediator, and He for She Network.
I wish to appreciate these laudable and landmark achievements brought about by the UN Women and reiterated that the ministry will continue to partner with UN Women at all costs and do whatever it takes to make a success story of its progress.
The focal point of the 16 days of activism is addressing cases around gender-based violence, which is a global concern.
Remember that in issues of gender-based violence, power has been taken from these survivors. You know, she feels disadvantaged. She feels even it's her fault. You know, a lot of power has been taken. So in giving her options to make decisions, we are empowering the survivor.
The Bauchi State Ministry of Women Affairs and Child Development, however, reiterates its commitment to give the necessary support and cooperation to the UN Women, as well as other development partners to advance the cause of women in the state. Awal Hassan, Viewer TV News, Bauchi.
Now, still in Bauchi, the Support Psychotherapy Network Nigeria, funded by SIG GSP, has organized a day workshop for health workers in Nigeria and Cameroon on mental health. Support Psychotherapy Network, which is a non-governmental, non-profit organization, is committed to improving mental health related issues in Nigeria using emotional and economic empowerment through the knowledge of group support psychotherapy. The reports.
The vision of the Support Psychotherapy Network Nigeria is to improve the mental health of all Nigerians and transform rural populations into socially, emotionally and economically empowered communities. Professor Etel Dreda Nakimuli, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the support group, said the goal is to train 5,000 health workers to recognize and respond to depression using group support psychotherapy GSP and be able to alleviate depression in 1 million people in the next 5 years.
Our goal is to train 5,000 health workers in the skill of recognizing depression, which is the commonest mental health problem, and treating it with group support psychotherapy. And if we achieve that goal of training up to 5,000 health workers in each country, this can lead to the treatment of at least 2 million people.
In his remark, the Commissioner of Health, who was represented by the Director of Public Health, Dr. Abe Abu, stated that the tribal state government is ready to partner with the support network for good service delivery in the state.
SIG GSP approached the Ministry of Health with this program, and we look at it and we saw that it is a program that will benefit all Tarabans and Nigerians as a whole, and that is why we have partners with SIG GSP to bring in mental health knowledge to healthcare workers, even right to the grassroots.
Some of the participants, both from Nigeria and Cameroon Republic, bear their minds on the program.
These 34 participants have been going through the rigorous training, post-conference training, lessons, after which they will be certified as national trainers. Then after this, we will now step down the activity. If you look at our goal, is to train 5,000 health workers in using the GSP model to treat depression and anxiety in Nigeria. We of
so I thought of Nigeria first because Nigerians are one of the brothers and sisters.
Yeah, we're absolutely looking for such an opportunity for all health workers to have this basic knowledge about mental health, because it will change a lot of things about the way we look at people who have mental health issues.
I'm so privileged to be a participant in this workshop. Our country has suffered a lot from political and sociocultural crisis, and there are also people who have been sick for so long a time. Their mental health is fast draining, so this is an opportunity, a golden opportunity for me to learn hard and then see how I can do to help my community.
Linda Guana, Viewer TV News, Jalingo.
And that was from Taraba State. I beg your pardon. Moving ahead, plastic waste in Nigeria has been on the increase due to the increasing consumption of plastics by citizens across the country. The United Nations has said this. The organization disclosed this through the UN Industrial Development Organization, stressing that the consumption of plastics in Nigeria jumped by 116.26% within a period of 15 years to 1.25 million tons. UNIDO country representative and regional director of West Africa, Jean Bakole, disclosed this at the inauguration of the steering committee for the project tagged Promoting Sustainable Plastic Value Chain Through Circular Economic Practices. In his speech, Bakole said Nigeria's plastic waste problem is on an increase because of the population and the position of being the largest GDP on the African continent. Now, in the world of business, the World Bank has projected that debt servicing will go up 123.4% of the federal government's revenue in 2023. This was according to a presentation made by the new World Bank lead economist for Nigeria, Alex Sinert, in November 2022, which was obtained by our correspondent. Now, the document entitled Nigeria Public Finance Review Physical Adjustment for Better and Sustainable Development Results projects that debt servicing would go up 100.2% of federal government's revenue by the end of 2022. This was a decline from the earlier projection in its October, which is a biannual analysis of the near-term macroeconomic outlook for the region, published during the World Bank/IMF spring and annual meetings in April and October. The Washington-based bank says Nigeria's debt service to revenue ratio could stand at 102.3% by the end of 2022. Stanbic IBTC Asset Management, a subsidiary of Stanbic IBTC Holdings, has announced the 19.997 billion naira Series 3 under its Stanbic IBTC Infrastructure Fund 100 billion naira program. The offer, which opened on Friday, 25th November 2022, is scheduled to close on Wednesday, 21st December 2022. The funds aimed to bridge the funding gap in Nigeria's infrastructure sector through investments in a careful selection of eligible infrastructure investments across core infrastructure sectors in Nigeria. The fund, structured as a closed-ended collective investment scheme, seeks to provide a target return of 2% to 5% above the prevailing yield of a federal government of Nigeria bond with a similar tenure to the remaining tenure of each series. The Series 3 insurance is for a tenure of 10 years and offers 188,650 million units of 100 naira each, issued at 106.00 naira per unit under the Stanbic IBTC 100 billion naira infrastructure fund program. Bankers, insurance, among others, in the nation's fiscal institutions have given conditional support to the Central Bank of Nigeria's new 100,000 naira cash withdrawal limit, saying there were pros and cons on the new monetary policy. Under the umbrella of the Association of Senior Staff of Banks, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions, they spoke at a weekend in Lagos during the handover ceremony to its new leaders of the association. Now, according to them, while the policy would, among others, reduce indices of robbery attacks on banks' customers after cash withdrawals, it would, however, create problems for the unbanked and those without access to payment platforms. Speaking, the new president of the ASSBIFI, Olusoji Oluwole, says Nigeria has not reached such a level of financial inclusion, adding that the policy should give room for financial inclusion. AutoCheck has been named the Mobility Finance Platform for the year 2022 by the Nigerian Business Leadership Awards for making car ownership more accessible and affordable across Africa. This was revealed through a statement by the automotive technology company. Now, a senior vice president for West Africa at AutoCheck, Mayokun Fadeyibi, in a statement says he's excited to receive the award on behalf of AutoCheck Marketplace and AutoCheck Financing Services as recognition of the work the company is doing to drive the penetration of automotive financing and Nigeria across Africa. AutoCheck, which was launched in 2020, has been driving the penetration of auto financing across Africa, enabling more customers and businesses across North, West, and East Africa to access financing solutions to purchase their desirable vehicles. Now, in the international scene, Iran executed a senior prisoner who was convicted of crimes committed during the nationwide protests challenging the country's theocracy, publicly hanging him from a construction crane as a gruesome warning to others. The executive of Majidresa Ranavad came less than a month after he allegedly fatally stabbed two members of the parliamentary force after reportedly becoming angry about security forces' killing of protesters. The development underscores the speed at which Iran now carries out death sentences handed down from those detained in the demonstrations that the government hopes to put down. Activists warn that at least a dozen people already have been sentenced to death in closed-door hearings. At least 488 people have been killed since the demonstration began in mid-September, according to human rights activists in Iran. A group that has been monitoring this protest has said this. Now, another 18,200 people have been detained by these authorities. Calls to reform lobbying roles for European Union institutions are growing as Brussels reels from a corruption scandal involving the European Parliament. Greeks Evers Kelly, a vice president of the parliament, is among 4 charged amidst the investigation into suspected influence peddling into a Gulf country. Belgian media have linked the probe to World Cup host Qatar, Doha, and now Doha has denied these accusations. Khalid was arrested after Belgian police staged 16 raids across Brussels on Friday, during which the recovered amount of 600,000 euros and seized computer equipment and mobile telephones. Now, 3 boys aged 10 and 11 have died after being pulled from an icy lake in Solihull, West Midlands. Police have said this. A 4th boy, aged 6, is in critical condition in the hospital after the accident in the lake in Babs Mill Park. Police officers were wading through the lake water to establish if anyone else fell in. After reports from witnesses that up to 6 children may have been involved in this accident. Now, emergency services were first called to the park near Birmingham at 2:06 p.m. on Sunday. Onlookers and police officers went into the freezing water to try to rescue them. They were eventually pulled out of the specialist by firefighters. A loud blast and gunfire was heard in Afghan capital near a hotel popular with Chinese business visitors. A witness has said this. Now, the Taliban claim to have improved national security since storming back to power in August last year, but there has been scores of bomb blasts and attacks, many claimed by the local chapter of Daesh group. Security officials were not immediately available to comment on the blast in Shahar-e-Now, one of Kabul's main commercial areas. The district is home to the Kabul Logan Hotel, a multi-story complex popular for Chinese businesses, people who are visiting Afghanistan in increasing numbers since the Taliban's return. A Taliban source based in Pakistan said an unknown number of attackers had entered the hotel. Now, the fans of Nigerian music star Ayo Balogun, aka Wizkid, were left disappointed after the singer failed to show up for his performance at a concert in Ghana. About 5,000 concert goers refused to exit the venue as they had high hopes that the Grammy Award winner, singer and performer would show up. Wizkid had confirmed his attendance hours before the event via a tweet. However, the Grammy Award winner issued another tweet almost 24 hours later, apologizing to his fans for his non-appearance. Wizkid's live concert would have been the first time the Afrobeat sensation would be headlining a show in the West African country. The show was also supposed to be the singer's first performance of his new album, More Love, Less Ego in Africa. Now, popular Nigerian singer Kiss Daniel has hit his first 100 million views on YouTube with his hit track, Buga. The song, which has caught the attention of both young and old in the country, was released in 2022 May. The hit track recently got listed as the #1 song in his year's Google search by Nigerians. Taken to his Instagram page to celebrate the feat, the 28-year-old singer thanked his fans for their constant support. after a fun trip to Nigeria earlier in May to shoot his music with Afrobeat superstar Davido. The American hip-hop sensation DaBaby is back to Lagos this December for a headline concert. The scintillating concert show to thrill his fans to a night of awesome music and spectacular party vibe at Eco Energy City, heralded by a global music power player of one of Nigeria's, one of the largest experience of live music and culture, Wonder X. The show, dubbed DaBaby Live in Concert, is set to erupt and light up the stage alongside some of Africa's top and finest acts at Eco Energy City. The concert is set to give the fans a December to remember as guests get to experience an electrifying night of music and energy with the best of global and local arts center stage, topped off with breathtaking headline performances from DaBaby. And that's about all we have on News Live tonight. But before we go, a recap of our headlines. National Assembly begs governors to pass constitution review bills. Schools, markets, banks shut down as gunmen invade Ebonyi State. Plus, Iran publicly hands man from crane amidst protests. Many thanks for watching News Live. I am Dorcas Bello. Do stay tuned and enjoy the rest of our programs. It's goodbye from the studios.